Setting up your Wix bookings sounds simple until you open up your dashboard and realize there's so many settings, from your integration, your availability, staff, locations, and somehow all of it impacts whether or not your customer can actually book you. So in this video, we're starting out at the very beginning, and I'm walking you through how to set up your Wix booking settings before you add a service and before you set up your custom booking pages. This is the first video of my Wix booking setup series. Each video will focus on one part of the system, so you can follow along from beginning to end or jump to any part that you may need. By the end of this video, you will understand how to set up your Wix booking settings so you can be prepared to add your services in the next video. But before we get started, I am Dee, your business strategist, so let's get into it. All right, so to get started, we are starting out in the Wix dashboard. You want to make sure you have two apps installed. The first app is going to be Wix Bookings. You can either use the search bar towards the top right that I'm using here, or you can use the navigation menu on the left hand side. Go to apps and app market. So I already have Wix Bookings installed. The next one that you want to make sure you have installed is Wix Services. And we have Wix Services already installed. So keep in mind, this video is just to focus on your booking settings and how to have a solid foundation before you actually start adding your services. This is going to be a multi-part series, so this is just video one. Follow along all the way until the end of the series. And if you want to be notified when a video drops in this series, go ahead and click the link below to make sure you're subscribed to our newsletter. So to get started, we are going to navigate down to settings, and we are going to either use the search bar or scroll down to where it says booking settings. All right, so to get started, we are going to start at the top with your default hours. This is basically your availability for the business in general. After we go through the default hours, then we're going to go to your staff and focus on individual staff hours. If you only have, let's say, just you in the business, then you can just use your default hours. So for right now, I have my hours set Tuesday through Saturday at different times. This is basically going to be the hours that my business is open. So let's say I want to go ahead and remove Tuesdays. I can just unclick this box here and it does change to not working. But let's say I want to go ahead and add Mondays, 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. and I could just use the drop down here to change the times, or I can just type it in as well. And let's say on Mondays, I am open from only 9 to 3, and then I reopen between 5 and 8. I just click the plus sign towards the right, enter my time here. So it's as simple as that. This is going to be the hours for my business overall. I'm going to click save. So before we get to add-ons, let's go ahead and go down to staff. So here is where I'm going to add staff. Right now it's just me, but let's say I want to go ahead and add someone else. I'm going to enter his or her name. Add a description, their email address. I have the option to input a profile photo there. Of course, here you want to actually input their real picture. Now let's go down to our staff settings. As I mentioned, we touched base on the default hours. Now skipping down to working hours. This is going to be the time frame that Jane is specifically available. Right now, it is currently set to what the default hours are, but I can go in here and change it just for this specific staff member. So let's say she does not work Mondays. I'm going to just delete Mondays. Wix is being a little wonky today. Let's say she's also off Saturdays as well. So she only works Monday through Friday. I'm going to click done, and those are now the updated hours for Jane Smith. So going back up, next you have the option to give permissions. So this is going to be very important for your staff to be able to handle their own calendar, their own booking appointments. This is going to send them an email and grant them access to be able to log into Wix themselves and manage their own booking and their own appointments. Now it's pending approval. I'm going to go ahead and go to the email And as you can see here, it just says you're invited to access a booking calendar. I'm going to click accept invite, and it's going to walk me through the process of actually creating an account and logging in using the Wix app. And this way your staff have the option to sync their own booking calendar as well, so that they are properly keeping up with their appointments. So next we have the personal calendar syncing. This is currently grayed out. Once the booking permissions is approved, this will be available again for your staff to be able to sync their calendars. Next, you have the video conferencing account. You can create individual accounts for your staff members. They recently updated it. It used to just be Zoom, but now you have the option to directly add Google Meet as well. But let's say you have a completely different platform, you could just click custom link, continue, and it will ask you for the meeting link, the password, which is optional, and a description. Last, for your staff, you have the option to add staff locations. So going back to those working hours, as you can see, this column here, you have location. If you have multiple locations for your business, you will add that for your business profile. And then from here, let's just click edit. From here, all of your locations will show. Right now, I just have Wamama listed. If you do house calls, you can click client's place. So if they work multiple locations, depending on the day, you will just modify each day. And then you have a summary here just to make sure you are setting it up properly. So right now I have Jane Smith will be available weekly, Mondays between 1 p.m. to 8 p.m. and Wamama. And this is the start date of August 5th. So next we are going to our add-ons. This will make a little more sense when we add our services in the next video, but let's just go through it. So here is where you're going to add add-ons for your services. So let's say you are a nail tech, for instance. You can create an add-on for, let's say, nail designs. And typically a nail design is $5 and we have 10 fingers. So this is basically an add-on where if they want a nail design, they can choose 10 designs at $5 each. Click save. And now you have your add-on there. So when they go to book a full set, let's say, they have the option to add the nail designs on to their purchase at an additional $5. But let's say you are a masseuse and you charge by your time. You can then go ahead and let's say 30 minutes. So this is going to be a 30 minutes add-on. And instead of quantity, we're going to change it to additional time, 30 minutes. And click save. So this is just letting you know that it's currently not attached to any service. So now we have our add-on here. To add an additional 30 minutes to the service, they will be charged $50 and they can only add up to one. If you do decide to delete it, it will let you know if it's connected to a service. So you do want to be mindful of those pop-up messages. Don't just be so quick to close them out. All right, so going back to our booking settings, next you have your resources and rooms. So let's say you have your staff and they're not necessarily assigned to a certain room. So let's say you have suites, for instance. You can go ahead and add either the room numbers or however you identify what the resource is that you have. So you have some examples here. Let's say you have a dance studio. Maybe it's a studio with different rooms. You have a conference room, a tennis court. This is good. Let's say you have a pickleball company and you have multiple courts. So for this, I'm just going to say room 1. It's going to ask you how many you want to create. Let's say 3. Your availability, you can choose 24/7 or your default business hours. I'm going to go with our default business hours. And then you have the location. You can either create a new business location or you could choose from what you already have. I'm going to click create. So right now we do have the rooms or the resources set up. We will revisit this so you can have a better understanding of how it ties in with your services. Going back to the booking settings, next we have our notifications, which is very important. The thing that I love about Wix is that they do offer solutions for everything that you could think of or that you may need. So for our notifications, we not only have the option to send emails, but you do have the option to send text messages and also notifications through WhatsApp. Now, the thing that you want to keep in mind here, as you can see at the top, it does say 50 messages left. And you'll also see here where it says emails free. So you do have a quota on a free plan of how many messages you can send on a monthly basis. So right now, under the free plan, you have 50 messages. You do have the option to upgrade based on your business needs. You have the option to choose between 100 messages monthly or all the way up to 7,500. This not only applies to your bookings, but let's say you have a restaurant. This applies to reservations as well as sending restaurant order updates. So you do want to be mindful depending on how your business is structured, what type of business you have. That is all going to determine how many messages you're likely going to send out on a monthly basis. Now, if you're sending messages, WhatsApp and text messages or SMS does count for one each, meaning if I send a message out to customer Jane Doe and I choose to send her a notification via WhatsApp and SMS, even though it's going to one person, it does count because it's two different platforms, two different messages. So that is going to take up 2 messages from my quota of 50. So you do want to be mindful of that as well, especially when you go to turn on these notifications. So you already have preset notifications here that you could turn on. You can choose to send a WhatsApp or text message or email if a client books, if they cancel, if they update their appointment, if you as the owner make any change to their appointment. There are so many things to choose from. Now, one thing to keep in mind with the text messages, because I know sometimes people want to transfer from like Acuity to Wix. You can build it out, but there are some limitations. If I go to one that is already built, and I'm going to go down to send SMS. So this is the messaging content that's going to automatically be sent. For the automations that are already built, there's no way to customize what the message actually is. So I know as far as people who sometimes use Acuity, they may have custom text messages that they send out to their customers directly. If you're okay with using a different platform for custom messages, then I would recommend that. Otherwise, you can use what they already have preset for you. You do also have the option to make your own automations by clicking More Actions, Explore Automations. So focusing back on the text message quota, so I have 4 on currently, 1 when they book, 1 if they choose to cancel, 1 if they are approved. So let's say when people book, I don't want to just automatically approve it, but I want to create an approval process. We'll go through that as well. It's going to send them a text message once they're actually approved, and then a reminder 24 hours before their session start. So that is up to 4 text messages that I'm sending out for one client alone. That is going to count towards this 50 quota. So as you can see, depending on what you're turning on for your notifications, 50 is not a whole lot. So you do want to be mindful of how many customers you currently have, how many are booking on a monthly basis, and how many text messages you're going to have to send out. But you can also send all of those notifications through email for free. The next thing to take note of here, under More Actions, you do have the option to integrate with other booking apps by clicking Find Booking Apps. You don't have a whole lot of options here, but just other apps you can use to integrate text messaging. You do want to be mindful of the additional costs you have at the bottom here. Another thing you want to make note of, you do have the option to automatically send your payment links when you are sending the text message or email notifications. Typically, this is going to be off, so you just want to come here, turn it on, and click save. So in addition to the notifications, you have the option to send. You can also receive notifications as well. So as you can see at the top, it does say emails free like before. You do want to make note of the text messages you send to yourself or to your staff will count towards this quota as well. The only option here is to notify staff when their client checks in, if you want to have a process of actually checking clients in. If you want to set up additional text messages, you can use the Go to Automations link here. Now we've covered notifications. Next is your tips. If you operate a business where you are going to accept tips, you have the option to turn this on here. Now this is an additional app that you do have to install. So you just want to click add to site. So we have covered the foundation, our booking setup. Now let's go ahead and get into our booking flow. Your booking flow is basically going to be how your customers experience the booking process from your website. So one thing you want to make note of is, as you can see here, it says service selection appointment. These settings apply to either your appointment, classes, or courses. So you want to be mindful and have an understanding of what the setting you're modifying is actually applying to. If I go down to time zone, this is going to apply not just to the appointments, but to the class and courses I have set up as well. And of course, if you don't have a class or a course, then if it don't apply, let it fly. So going back up to the top, the first option I have here is the service selection. You can choose to make one service available per appointment or multiple services per appointment up to 5. This again will make a little more sense when we get to the front end, so we can see how everything looks, but that will be in another video. Next, we have our staff selection, where you can let clients choose a staff member, and by default it will be set to any staff member, or you could have the system assign staff automatically. If you assign staff automatically, it will be based on your booking policy settings, and we will take a quick look at this. We'll cover it again later, but when you're setting your default policy, there is an option to automatically assign staff. It can do so randomly, which that option is included, or you could assign staff by priority. But as you can see here, in order to do that, you do have to upgrade. Next, you have the option to determine when do you want in your booking process for your clients to be able to choose staff. You have the option for on the calendar page or before viewing the calendar. I would recommend just putting it on the calendar page, just so that, let's say they decide, you know what, I want to go with a different staff, or I have a person that I want to go to, they can see the dates and the staff all on the same page versus having to continuously go back and forth. Same as far as location, you can choose to put it on the calendar page or before viewing the calendar. Now for this one, I would recommend putting it before viewing the calendar, just because, you know, with location, a person going to know which location they want to go to first before they may know the exact date. That is if you do have multiple locations. If you don't, then this really doesn't matter. Now your available time slots and how you choose to set up when times become available is very important. You have two options based on service duration or every 30 minutes. So let's say my service is an hour long, right? So it's going to start at the top of every hour if I choose based on service duration. So I'm going to have a 9 a.m., a 10 a.m., an 11 a.m., a 12, a 1 p.m., right? But if I say every 30 minutes, then even though my services is for an hour, the time slots that's going to be available will now be at 9 a.m., 9:30 a.m., 10 a.m., and it's going to continue. And I can change this, let's say 5 minutes. Now that means, yes, my service is still at an hour, but it's now going to have time slots available at 9 a.m., 9:05, 9:10, 9:15. So you do want to do, again, what's best for your business. So next is your appointment wait list, which I would definitely recommend activating, turning that on for your business, because it's going to help when you have cancellations. So let's say you have a last minute cancellation, it's going to automatically send a notification to those who are on your wait list. And when you activate it, you'll have the option to see who's on the wait list, which we'll go more in details with that. And you'll also be able to limit how many people can join your wait list as well. But if you receive, even if you don't receive a lot of cancellations, this is very beneficial for you to be able to fill those slots without you having to do anything manual. Next is your time zone. As I mentioned, this one is going to apply not just to your appointments, but also if you have classes or courses. This you can either set to your own business time zone or the client's local time zone, or allow your clients to choose. The last settings that we have is the booking form and then our checkout settings. So before we get into the booking form, let's go ahead and take a look at our checkout settings. You have your cart, which allows clients to pay for multiple services and products at once. This is very important. Wix added this not too long ago. So sometimes when you have a service business, you may also be offering products. Typically, the way that some host platforms work is where they have to complete the booking process for the service and then go back and complete the purchase. Or you could have an integration of apps that offer upsells. But this right here, if you toggle this to on, this will allow them to add services and products to their carts and check out all at once. So we saw before the option to add tips. This is going to allow your clients to be able to add tips during the booking process. So this is before they actually get service. And then you have your discounts, where if you just click manage, this is going to take you to the discount page where you can create discount codes for your customers depending on what promo you're running. So next is your booking form. Again, we are just going through the settings, so we're not going to go too in depth. That will be a part of the series though. So you can get to this either one or two ways. We can go back to client booking flow where we just were, or we could go to booking form. I have the option to see the forms that already exist or create a new form. Upon clicking create a new form, this is going to take me to the form creation. Again, we are going to take a deep dive with the Wix forms later, but a few things just to show you. Of course, you are currently in edit mode. Here towards the top left is where you're going to change the title of the form, which is highly recommended, especially if you have multiple forms. Here is what the form looks like by default. They have the option to log in, input their information. Any additional questions you may have are set, agreeing to the terms and conditions that you set, and then submitting it. You have the option to preview what the form will look like from your customer's view. And then we have the option on the left hand side to add different elements, modify further settings, and add conditional rules. Going back to our booking settings. So next we are going down to our booking policies. So this is where you're going to set up your policies, and you have different options. So you could set up your payment policy, cancellation, rescheduling, no-show, refund, late arrival, booking and deposit policy. The list goes on. So as you can see here, I have the policies I already have set up. You do have to have a default policy, and you're going to see the list of services the policy is connected to. So let's say you have multiple services, but they have different cancellation policies. So you can list all your cancellations policies here and then tie them to specific services. So if I want to add a new policy, I can use the button towards the top right, or click add a new policy below. This is going to take me to the add new policy page, and we're just going to go with a cancellation policy, for example. Enter my policy description, and you can make your policy description as short or as long as you would like. You do want to make sure it's descriptive though, so that your customers or clients aren't continuously asking you questions. You have up to 2,500 characters that you can add here. Once we start creating the service, that is where we're going to connect our policies. So next, when we scroll down, we have some more rules here. You can see this rule is going to apply to your appointment, class, and courses that you have set up. So the first one is allowing clients to book on behalf of someone else. As you can see, that is a new feature for Wix. I would recommend turning that on. So let's say you have a loyal client and they want to book an appointment for a gift for someone. That is a simple way that you can now gain additional clientele. The next is allowing clients to cancel their own bookings. If you turn this on or keep this on, you do want to make sure you have that waitlist option on. Below you have two options: who can cancel and how late they can cancel. If you select anyone, that's pretty self-explanatory, but let's say you want to do only site members. That basically means the individual will have to log in and be a member of your site in order to cancel. For how late they can cancel, so my policy stated that the request must be sent 48 hours prior. So if I come back down here, how late they can cancel, I would change that up to 48 hours before start time. In addition to cancellations, you also can give them the option to reschedule their online bookings. Now the thing with this is you can change who can reschedule and how late they can reschedule, but it does not have an option to limit the number of reschedules. So you do want to keep that in mind before you allow your clients to continuously reschedule. Now the booking window, I know for some service providers they only open their window or booking time slots 30 days prior, but that's going to allow them to book 30 days out. You do want to set an until time so that you can properly prepare your services. So let's say that today is Tuesday, tomorrow is Wednesday. So if I say 24 hours, that means they are allowed to schedule an appointment up until literally the day before. So you want to take in consideration how long it's going to take you to prepare for this appointment. If you're okay with people walking in or scheduling appointments within a short period of time, then you can modify this to either 0 minutes or 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 30 minutes. So this is where we went to before with the automatic staff assignment. Moving on down to payment and fees. So this is very important. So you have two options: to require a card on file and to charge cancellation and no-show fees. One thing you want to be mindful of when it comes to this is there are certain payment processors that do not allow for this to be an option. For example, Wix payments, or if you're using PayPal, you can turn this on. However, if you are offering something like Apple Pay, Google Pay, or buy now, pay later programs, this will not apply. It does give me that warning, letting me know some of my payment methods do not support storing cards. The same for if I choose to require a card on file. If you're going to be requiring a card on file or charging a cancellation fee, you do want to make sure you have policies in place to cover yourself and your business, and not just adding this to the back end. You want to make sure your customers are aware of that up front. So this is another area where we can turn on our wait list. Again, this is beneficial for those cancellations. So intake forms, yes, as you can see, this is going to be another app. Wix does have everything you need, but sometimes it does consist of installing multiple apps. But I will say, as far as Wix dashboard, the user interface does make things easier to find. So don't get overwhelmed with all the apps that you have to install. They have things pretty separated and categorized. As you can see, I have the booking calendar here. If I go to catalog, I have my booking services. So you will have everything you need here. It's just a different app on the back end. So the intake forms is, let's say that you are an esthetician and you're taking clients in and you need them to sign like a waiver or something. This is the form that you are going to have for this. This is going to allow you to set up that waiver so they can sign it electronically. Now, we did talk about group bookings a little. This is going to only apply to classes and courses, not to appointments. This is where you're going to set the maximum number of participants allowed per booking. So if I want to change it to 10 participants, I could just move that, and you do want to make sure you save it. We are going to go over the front end in our next video as we set up our services. So last, we have the option to book a course after a start date if we want to allow our customers or clients to do so. If so, you can just go ahead and click that. If you have, let's say, a monthly subscription or a monthly membership, you turn this option on. Let's say the course started in January, but they decided not to join until March. They will not be charged those previous months of January and February. So that is how you set up your booking policies. We are going to go back to our booking settings. So now that we've covered online bookings, we are moving right along to the integrations. This is where you're going to either add your video conferencing app that you have. Maybe that is Zoom or Google Meet. Currently, I have a custom video link which is set to Google Meet. As I mentioned before, Wix recently added the option to integrate directly with Google Meet without adding a custom link. So instead of doing that, I can just click Google Meet. That's going to prompt me to sign in to my Google account. Same with Zoom, it's going to allow you to log in. You can use this with the free version of Zoom. Unless they changed it, it does only allow 45 minutes per session. So you do want to keep that in mind. But let's say you don't want to use Google Meet nor Zoom. You also have the option to add a custom link. This is going to ask you for the link itself, as well as if there's an optional password or description that you want to add. This information is what's going to be sent over to your client when they book. So last, we have our booking integrations, additional apps that you could add with your booking process. So we have Facebook, Instagram, Google, ClassPass, and Hop, or link in bio. I would recommend, if you are already using Facebook and Instagram, to go ahead and add those on. This is basically going to allow somebody to come across your page on Facebook or Instagram and book directly through those apps. This will allow them to click the button and then be brought to your booking page or your booking form. And you also have Google, so that it allows people to book when they come across you through a search result or on Google Maps. So now that we've gone through the main Wix booking settings, you now have the foundation for how customers will book, cancel, reschedule, and move through your booking process. In the next video, we are going to take a deep dive into the actual services. I'll show you how to create appointments, classes, courses, and set your pricing and choose the right booking options for your services. So make sure you're subscribed and use the playlist link below to continue setting up your Wix booking site with me. If you have any questions, be sure to drop them in the comments below. I'll see you next time.